Welcome back to the Dizzy Times, everybody. It's been a minute. It's been a while, but I'm coming back with a really fresh update because the 25 to 26 campaign has been really crazy. You know, Passion Reignited in May 2025. Just started creating Instagram Reels in like June 2025. Ran my radio show in KSJS for about 8 months. Then stepped down February 15th. I interviewed Terrain Joseph and Ashwin. It's an honor doing that. And in addition, there is a lot of depth that you may not know about me throughout the last year because it's been a really crazy roller coaster ride. I want to travel back to September. This is one of my favorite months in September 2025 because it was truly unexpected. You see, back in August, sometime around August 2025, around like the 19th or 20th, he, my fellow KSJSer, who was assistant manager for hip hop department, hit me up saying, "Yo, we got Sleeping on Gems Festival on September 14th. We're thinking you skip your show to join us." And I was really hesitant at the time. My ego was really high. For every show, I took it seriously. Like all of my radio show, I cherished it personally. I didn't like missing 5 minutes when it came late. I didn't like being locked out when IDs didn't work sometimes, and I also didn't like when something glitches. So I really took every minute seriously. It was really my life, and I initially like declined going to Sleeping on Gems, even though it's right there in San Jose, right next to Monopoly in the park and Discovery Meadow, right in front of Children's Discovery Museum. The reason why I really declined is because I was afraid that since it was my last show, very last show of Ears of a Timolian specifically, very last shift on a Saturday afternoon at the time, Sunday afternoon at the time, I was really hesitant. I kind of thought that honestly, I really thought that I was going to be using up an opportunity to conclude my final afternoon show. But he kind of reminded me like food for thought. Everyone switches shows all the time. Everyone switches their names all the time. So if you didn't know, I switched from Ears of a Timoleon to the Desi Times to really expand beyond just South Indian rappers. I wanted to expand and talk about all kinds of artists throughout the Desi scene. And I did it without even realizing it. So after he kind of texted me on some food for thought, and I kind of realized that I'm not really wasting any time. I'm gaining new experiences by going to Sleeping on Gems on September 14th, and it was a debut show for San Jose, for the city of San Jose, for a hip hop show like that. And it's ironic it happened just when I got my passion back in May. But before we dive into Sleeping on Gems, I do want to talk about the stop, drop, and roll. How I really got introduced to the reality of hip hop, and what really brought my passion back is really Keith, aka the Barhemian. He hosts a Stop, Drop, and Roll since 2023, specifically the live version of having artists right in person at Loft Bar and Bistro in downtown San Jose in Second Street. And it's a free event. Everyone's welcome. All kinds of people join. Ever since I joined in April 2025, it's like a mix of family, friends, service workers, locals, a lot of grit workers, and a lot of or not a lot, but like a handful of friends in KSGS and college students too, just showing up. So it's a really good mix, and the bar itself is really unique too. Just has like black floors, small stages, and even like really good chairs as well, designed for hip hop, and just like everything, it just speaks hip hop when you walk in. And it looks small a little bit sometimes, but like when you actually talk to people and see people, it's actually really a lot bigger than you think. And at the time, like in well, when Keith introduced me to everybody, he introduced me to everyone immediately. Like, I shook a lot of hands, and a lot of people just immediately remembered me as I kept going month after month. But specifically, on September 2025, yeah, in September 12th, I believe, it was Black Sea from RBL Posse. RIP Mr. C, RIP Hitman. So no, it was a really big deal because Black Sea has been dominating the hip hop scene for about 30 years, since the 80s and 90s, or early 90s, with RBL Posse. And after tragedies happened, he still continued dominating solo for the next 30 years. And he's of course collaborated with Larry June often. They spent some time, plenty of time together. So I really bookmarked that in my calendar, and I knew that was something I didn't want to miss, because the other few stop, drop, and roll artists were great, but Black Sea was a little bit different because I really got to know the true Bay Area historian of hip hop, who's seen the reality from the '90s to the present, who's seen the Bay Area change financially, but also mentally from and culturally from the '90s to present. So and so I was super excited to really meet him. And the question I had in my pocket is, in the world where AI is everywhere, what are your thoughts on AI? Because I use AI really frequently, and I've used that to help me get out of imposter syndrome. And I've always used it as a secondary source and a tool. It's never the primary subject, and it never speaks my language. Because if you do, people will immediately see through it. And it's something I've kind of gotten used to as I began using AI, from ChatGPT to now Gemini and Notebook LM. I like Gemini a little bit more because I'm a really big Google boy. I love Google a lot more for some reason, even though I have a MacBook and an iPhone. But yeah, I've really been using Gemini a lot for outlining, and a lot for structuring, and for like feedback. But I interact with humans every day, of course, so the artificial intelligence never shadows or overshadows actual human connections. And no, I don't think AI is going to replace humans. And I received that validation and proof from not just professors, but the industry professionals as well, and even my friends themselves. But I do especially want to now really be serious on Stop, Drop, and Roll first, because that was really first activation of my musical September. So I was sitting down. Black Sea gave a lot of information about his life, about the tragedies and the connections. Um, every single album he dropped, because he's got a lot of albums. And when I asked him the question about AI, like he said, I absolutely don't mind, as long as you don't let that shit do the work itself. So what he really meant is, don't let the AI define you. You got to define the AI and continue using it as a tool, like I said. So I really got that validation for Black Sea. As long as I use AI as a tool and never use it to do my own work, I only use it to help with my work, then it's completely valid. And he even noted some examples that he already uses AI, and a handful of his clients or artists already use AI too. So that it wasn't just that answer, but how he answered it truly blew my mind. And at the time, my ego was really high. Of course, like I honestly wanted to be as famous as possible. So I always asked Keith, like, "Hey, do you mind if I take pictures?" Or I kept asking them and pressuring them, like, "Yo, can I write a blog?" And they kept saying yes, but I'll get to that later on why it never really happened. But yeah, it was an amazing Friday night on September 12th. I hope I got that date right. And then I rested on Saturday, and then Sunday, um, we got in to Monopoly in the park, and I was just um, constantly having my phone up. But also, what I didn't really expect is, the low riders and cars in one corner. Then how hot it was. It was like 70, 80 degrees. Yeah, it was extremely hot, and I was sweating honestly. And seeing the loud music bang up, I loved it. And I saw Lou Phelps performing first, and and, there's been a other handful of artists in the lineup as well, really performing. And Twee was an amazing R&B singer. Um, and then of course Larry June, the opener, or sorry, the headliner at night. And what I really loved personally is honestly like seeing the SJC planes in the sky. I don't know why. I just love seeing planes land and take off from a young age. I love seeing them close up. And there was nowhere better than sleeping on Gems at the time to see the plane land right on the sky, fly right on the sky as the artists are performing. And not everyone really participated in Lou Phelps at first, but I did participate a little bit, stood around for like 30, 40 minutes. It was dope, even though I was sweating a bit. And I do got to say the food trucks were really solid. They had about five, six food trucks just all stacked up right next to each other and with massive long lines. For lunch, I literally just ended up getting nachos. But honestly, I don't regret getting nachos, even though it's not really healthy. And I also didn't get a drink, but I got Red Bull, and it was really a lot of fun to really um, be immersed in that experience. By the way, I wasn't like a diehard fan of Larry or any of the artists. I just listened to a few of their songs, then just embraced it, got ready. While my friend, in case she has like he knew most of his songs and sang after most of them. But seeing Larry's motto of "Good job, Larry," and "Hey, Larry," and "Keep it up, Larry," "Good work, Larry." Um, uh, I loved how the fans really interacted that way. And Larry June has an amazing story, and he's still cooking today. But anyways, that was like a Sunday evening, and it was like 10 p.m. I went back home, of course, took the bus back home, picked up my backpack from the SRAC, SRAC, like the gym in San Jose State, and then Monday morning to afternoon, I went to college, of course, on Monday. Went to my classes, and then I immediately took the Caltrain over after like taking the bus right back home and dropping my backpack off. I just rushed to take the train to Regency Ballroom on for Monday evening to see Noah Cyrus from the Cyrus family. And I mainly did this because I thought it would be a great experience to write a blog about a pop star like her. She's not mainstream, but like she's kind of on that intersection now. She's always been famous, of course, starring in Hannah Montana, but like as an extra. But what was really missing is, you know, um, she's kind of an underdog in her family. Like she's not doesn't have as much leverage as the other sisters and as her dad does. So that's why I thought it would have been great to write about her. So I took a lot of pictures and I stood in the front. I think I was just right behind, one line behind the front crowd. It wasn't really a mosh pit. Everyone was standing, everyone was screaming, but we weren't like shaking like it was for a hip hop concert. So I didn't break my ribs. So it was fun. Burn LA Down. The hype song were like Be a Woman, featuring Extentation, and just a lot of the classics, and studied her. legendary albums. But then I returned on Monday midnight, and instead of taking an Uber, I just decided to like walk all the way home from Sunnyvale Caltrain station to home, which was a cool experience. Even though I had to get up pretty early for Tuesday morning, and then Tuesday was good, but like was like a chill normal day at college. But like Wednesday, I ended up getting really sick. I was sick from Wednesday to Friday, and then that very day on Thursday, I looked at Instagram and saw Young Raja's Instagram about San Mateo Festival. Um, his caption was like, "Yo Bay Area, I'll see you in 3 days or 4 days." And then I was just searching this up online, like, what is this happening in San Mateo? And then it's a local. It's the debut festival happening in the Bay Area for Singapore. Debut Singapore Fest happening for San Mateo. It was a Singapore fest specifically located in the event center in Hillsdale, near Hillsdale Station in San Mateo. And I immediately booked my tickets, and it was only $14. That's what was the so convenient. It was only $14 because all I got to do is just answer a survey, easy survey, and boom. And they even had a lot of pre-orders for lunch and dinner, like a lot of the Singaporean and Malaysian dishes, a lot of the Singaporean and Malaysian spots, like a lot of the eateries and cuisines. And so I did that, even ate a roti john for the first time, and even drank a Milo milk. Milo is basically, if you're from India, it's basically the Malaysian and Singaporean Born Vita and Boost, basically. It's that chocolate powder. And but before that, like so it was Sunday morning. I did my first radio show in the morning, first Sunday morning radio show, as I wanted to, reach the Indian diaspora, reach Indian time zone, and the other time zones too, like in Malaysia and Singapore. But that was fun. Waking up at 4 a.m. Taking the 5 a.m. bus. It was different. But then I went right back home after 10 a.m. and changed and went out to the Caltrain to San Mateo. So this event center in San Mateo or Hillsdale, it was extremely crowded. A lot of people were just lining up constantly. It was a really long ass line for a lot of it, a really long line for the typical foods as you expect in any event. Lines are supposed to be long, but I came in like the afternoon around like 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. and Young Raja was only performing at like 6 p.m. So I had a lot of time. So I just chatted with the locals, chatted with the people from Malaysia and Singapore, because I didn't know anything about Malaysia and Singapore outside of the hip hop scene. So it was different, really talking about the food, Malaysia versus Singapore. But I just took some time watching the fireside workshops of like the guest speakers, like for talking about AI and talking about tech, etc., from Singapore. And um, uh, just before Young Raja was performing, he was just networking with locals, just talking to people, absolutely just having fun, talking to his friends, talking to connections. And I didn't really bother him. So then when he came to the stage, it wasn't really a lot of people. It was just like about 10 to 15 of us. It was mostly just, attendees for the festival. Not really a lot of crazy fans. Just only like maybe mm, uh, five of us who were really big fans of him and knew his lyrics. But then I shook his hand, took a picture of him after he performed, and slowly started talking to some people. I knew it was time to approach him. And interestingly, he said hi to me first because I was a little bit scared, a little bit shy to talk to him, but it was really cool. We got to talk about, because I discovered him through Venom, Sai Shiva and Young Raja together back in 2023, I believe, or 2024. And I also, talked about what I do for KSJS, my passion for hip hop, etc. And it was a dope conversation. So we took that picture together, and then still enjoyed the last few moments. Um, eating some cake, really seeing the last few performers. Then when I left, I took the Caltrain back home, just mesmerized by that Singapore Fest. What uh, That was really my musical September. So like three events in those 2 weeks. It was crazy. And getting sick in the middle. It was crazy. And also, Singapore Fest was in September 21st. Forgot to mention that. But yeah, so like back to back festivals. But it's not over yet. A week later, I go to Sofa Fest, an underground festival in downtown San Jose, First Street. Um, I never really expected what it was going to be like, but I went there to see Milo Green, a fellow volunteer and devotee in Stop, Drop, and Roll. And we kind of been a lot closer as I went to every single Stop, Drop, and Roll. I got to know him a little bit more, and I didn't know he rapped at the time. Like, I just found out after seeing his main post, and I was in the KCS studio in the morning doing my radio show, and then Milo just drops a text on me, saying, "Bro, yeah, you should join. You should see me in the Sofa Fest." And I didn't really have any excuses because I was right there on SJCU. So I just did some homework and whatnot for about 2 to 3 hours, and then went around like 2 or 4 p.m. Forgot what time it was, sometime in the afternoon, and saw the dude perform. And man, it was crazy. Saw so many food trucks, vendors, merch stands, and just constantly so many dozens of trucks right next to each other. You see an amp artist, you see a rapper, you see an R&B singer, all next to each other. It's crazy. And specifically for Milo, he performed and had some features in as well. But he also had to do this when the sound wasn't always working right. Like the sound, the amp checked out a few times, and the sound engineers had to the sound guys had to really fix it up while they were performing. But that didn't really slow down Milo. That's what impressed me the most. It's not really about the backing track. It's more about your voice and lyrics. And I'm a lyrics first artist, so that really touched me a lot. And, it was really inspiring to learn about his 3 year sobriety and the 3 years of being sober. It's always good. And seeing how many people in his family really came up to see him, it's amazing. It's not just a performance you're doing at Sofa Fest. It's a ritual, a culture, and a family gathering and friend gathering every time you're in that. It just truly touched my heart a bit. And I knew I had to come many months later. I had to make it a tradition for myself. So, anyways, I went back, but now really talking about content. Really in October and late September, it was really dark because um, I was in multiple clubs and organizations, like a lot of clubs and organizations. It was crazy because I had homework every day. I was in DBH agency, the Spar Club, KSJS, and even like going to marketing associations sometimes. But I really NPRs to say, and I put myself in a lot of meetings, and I really prioritize numbers a lot more. Really prioritize stacking the resume a lot more. That I ended up really burning out and never had time to really write about Nova Cyrus, write about sleeping on gems, or even make content for like Stop, Drop, and Roll, sleeping on gems, etc. I was never able to write about them because I really cooked myself with the amount of events I put myself into. I love them, but I didn't give myself personal time to really make content and write about it. And in fact, I took a hiatus from posting stop set reels on Instagram from September 14th, the night of Sleeping on Gems, all the way to like early November. But I even tried aggressively trying to finish my songs as soon as possible, but it just never really worked because I knew it wasn't really clicking right. My ego was really high. I was just uncontrollable. And I spent so many hours and nights and for really little ROI. And I ended up almost failing a few of my classes. But in November, something hit. I realized I need to stop rushing the product and start like slowing down a little bit. I've been chatting with Gemini a little bit on like what's really going wrong and is numbers more important or is quality of life long term solutions much better? And as it does, it told me long term solutions are a little bit better. And I thought to myself, wait, um, I should not worry too much about being great at 20 or 21 when I can be a long term solution throughout my 30s, 40s, 50s, etc. So and I even wrote a script called Raga and made a music video script in it, Wunale, because of you, for Film Production Society. I was trying to make my first film. Um, I kind of been writer's block, as you know, but I made it at the hardest month possible in October, and I finished it, and I started recruiting like friends and actors like very late. Um, that it just never really panned out. And when I tried making it after the minor competition in November, like I knew I was just gonna take a long time to do so. And now I'm kind of postponing it to like 2027 when I have a little bit more time because I know it's not the highest priority right now. But essentially, I really had to really realize that time is the most important value for me if I want to do well in this industry and do well in my life. So I woke up in November and with Spar Nightclub, we went to Empire and SF, the label founded by Ghazi Shami and, the really big independent powerhouse in the Bay Area. And it wasn't really a traditional workshop where they told us their roles. Like we sat down and it was a conversation vibe. We all sat down on sofas, chairs, couches, etc. And I asked a lot of questions about like how do you multitask and like I told them my story. If I'm hurting myself by working in a big label while doing my own music, and they straight up told me that's a personal question that I have to answer. So basically, I got all the answers coming right back to me. That it's up to me to decide how I want to live my life. So really, shout out to Empire. Then what really happens next is after that, I just came with new confidence that I'm using my life just the way I want, and I don't need to rush the clock just for clout or just for immediate exposure. So I just locked the MIDI at home, did not touch it at all, did not bring it to SJCU, and just focused on my classes, and I did so much better. And in October, the first few months, August to early October, I was just doing clients in DB&H agency, which is doing minor work, minor deliverables in a team of six for you know a lot of the local firms like Tech Interactive, Hammer, and then Shade Rays. Just a lot of like local boutique spots and local powerhouses for media who need social media help and events help. But I realized and SAC really served my purpose because I always had that competitive strategy and I wanted my time to be used much better rather than spending about 15 minutes talking to humans. I wanted to spend about 60 plus minutes talking to people. And time flew by a lot faster when I went to National Student Advertising Competition, went to that table in DBH. And I also worked zero part time jobs um, because I take the VTA and because I don't have car insurance. Like, I don't have as much of a reason to really rush for cash right now on a part time job. And It's not me saying this, it's my family telling me this. They don't force me, but they just tell me like um using your time for student involvement is much higher ROI than working in a retail just for cash. But anyways, that is my story. But so from November through to present, I've really been using time a lot more rather than just immediate presence. And winter break was a lot of fun, just a lot of reflecting, a lot of solo vacations, and a lot of typical planning for the spring semester because it was about to be electric. And I've been noticing how burned out I am every single week. Saturdays spending all those hours just finding MP3s for all each of the songs, and then commuting on the VTA bus to SJCU every Sunday morning, and spending the whole Sunday just in SJCU so I don't get burned out back home. I had to make a hard decision to step down from KSJS in February. I stepped down February 15th. It was really hard, but I had to do it to protect my mental health and really do better in my classes, especially in my senior year. So, but it ended on a great note. Everyone respected it. I love everyone over there in KSJS, and um, we still catch up with each other every month. So, now we're shifting to like March. I really stopped aggressively pulling my phone and taking pictures. When I went to stop, drop, and roll in February 20th, wait, actually, before that, I want to talk a little bit about opening that hiatus up in November. And around mid November, I, posted an old reel about me talking about Terrain Joseph's Time Machine, and Terrain commented, as you know, and then that's how I met Ashwin, and boom, rest was history. I just got out of that hiatus and started posting, not aggressively, but just consistently, once a week or once every 2 weeks. So yeah, but now going to March 20th, this was like the day after, campaign book was done with NSAC. My stuff was over with NSAC. So basically, it was a big relief, big reward for me to walk into the Stop, Drop, and Roll show, and it was my first time seeing Keith in a long time, and seeing Carl, who's one of the other organizers, San Jose Carl, and we didn't really just handshake each other. They actually gave me hugs, which was really crazy to me because I'm not really used to it. I don't really hug often in my family. It's usually eye contact, waves, and handshakes, but it was crazy for Keith to hug me, and told me a lot of. We talked a lot differently than we did a few months ago, back in September. So it was just amazing, and just felt really emotional inside. And in that very show, in March 20th at Loft Bar, it was the second floor, and they had the most RSVPs at the time, and they're gonna have a lot more RSVPs in coming June 12th for Young Hoff, but it was Ave Rose for March 20th. It was fun. Really learning from a 10-year-old, and I'm really excited for her. Like, I just don't know what to say. I was just speechless when I went to that show and when I discovered her. But then in April, like after that Stop, Drop, and Roll show in March, like I kind of realized I don't think I can work a day job in a company and then come back and volunteer over here in Downs San Jose. I need to be two people, and it's something I really had to decide carefully. But I think if I want to be Aravinda one, I got to work in an environment I'm comfortable in. But that doesn't mean hustling. That doesn't mean throwing my life away just to practice my vocal cords. It means I'm giving time for my vocal cords, the MIDI, the podcast, the algorithm, and the computer all at the same time. And instead of like just following the algorithm and trying to have the most money, I'm trying to just defeat the algorithm by just really following human connections, by showing up, But also, I've learned the hard difference throughout college, difference between showing up and really taking notes, and actually how you actually interact with people in the bubble versus the streets, like SJC bubble versus the outdoor streets in San Jose. But anyways, now let's go to April. Like back in April 9th, I was at Nirvana Soul just drinking a latte. I go to Nirvana Soul a lot, especially since hosting my radio show from September to February. And I still ended up using it as a tradition, going to Nirvana Soul on First Street, not MLK Library. I just love First Street's Nirvana Soul, in my opinion. But anyways, what really happens that day is I casually walk into KALEID, Collide. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. But I meet this man. He just says, "Thank you for stopping by." And I look at all the paintings. Last time I walked in there was with the Advertising Club back in 2024. So it was crazy going in the first time in a while. And I saw this shocking painting, Tony DiMaggio's. Tony DiMaggio's is an iconic Italian restaurant. It survived a roof fire just a year ago, and it's a family-owned mom and pop restaurant. And my brother and I went there once, and they got fantastic pizzas, pastas. Even though I'm vegetarian, their stromboli is dope. I never ate it, but if you ask anybody who went to Tony DiMaggio's, they will talk about the strombolis. But um, this painting in particular was captured by Ernie Hernandez, and I hope I pronounced his name right. Hope I said it right. But then they talked to the receptionist. I just talked to him about that painting, and he was like, "Hey, dude, I'm so glad you're really mesmerized and you're really looking at these paintings, well." And then, yeah, and then I casually told him like it's in front of my dad's temple, and he was like, "What?" So we just had a whole conversation about that, and he grew up around South San Jose, East San Jose, and he also, when I told him I'm from Sunnyvale, like he said, "Oh wow," like he knew like I took the VTA bus because he knows Sunnyvale well. He used to go to old Sunnyvale Town Shopping Center, like the old Sunnyvale back in the 90s and the 80s, and it was crazy just reminiscing the past. Even though I wasn't born that time, it's crazy how different that Sunnyvale was in at the time compared to how Sunnyvale is today, specifically about downtown. And we talked about how so many things went away and how so many things stayed. Tony DiMaggio's is one of the monuments that are still there from then to now. And I talked about my hobbies and my thing with hip hop, and he said, "Hey, definitely feel free to really get involved in stuff over here." And that really taught me like just showing up, just saying hi to somebody like on the street, like even in something small like that, like it shows that you actually care, and that's how you really build connections rather than just in a world where you're at home on your laptop or PC screen, just looking at LinkedIn profile, just looking at websites. Like, just pull up to that location and actually talk to them first. And that's really what KSGS taught me, if anything. And stop, drop, and roll really forced me to stop looking at the screen and start looking at the street. And that's how you actually feel it. But anyways, then a few hours after that, I saw the Boogie with the Hoodie, our concert at SJSU at Providing Credit Union, and I loved him because I studied a handful of his albums, like Artist and The Bigger Artist, and because I sometimes sing, sometimes I rap, and I like to sing slow or rap slow. Sometimes I like rapping fast, singing fast, just like him. So that's why I really idolized the Boogie with the Hoodie when I discovered him through that post for the incoming concert at SJCU. But it was a lot of fun, really checking it out. And last year, I went to the Provide Credit Union show in SJCU for Mike Sherm and Pilo with friends at first, and then this year I went completely alone. So it was really different. Really going alone. I got to really pick where I wanted to go. I wasn't in the front of the mosh pit this time. I stood in the back and observed, and I did not regret it at all. I think it's a good life hack. But I still ran into a lot of people like my boy Joey, DJ Coffin from KSJS, and a handful of people from Adobe Ambassador, Spar Ad Club. It's crazy. I ran into so many people, and even when I was walking back to the bus, I ran to Milo. It was crazy. And even in the SRAC itself, I ran into veteran DJs who were studying at SJSU, like actual DJs on the street who knew Tracks a Millionaire, like absolutely crazy. Like shout out DJ Smokey, crazy. But and one of them even took a video of me dancing alone. Crazy. I mean, I can't stop saying crazy because it was a crazy night on April 9th, Thursday, 2026. But then a week later, I went to this Adobe pitch competition partnership between Ad Club and Adobe Ambassadors. And one of my classmates was there. I immediately teamed up with them. And then, our other partner was uh, the very guy I actually met when we were on the trip to Empire from San Jose State back in November. And then the fourth person was um, someone we met for the first time, someone I didn't meet before, but she really had full creative momentum in our group and was just highly talented. But we had multiple brands to choose, and we chose Spotify. So it was truly ironic that we were choosing Spotify because he used Spotify for everything since 2017. But long story short, we were able to win first place. I really talked about we really just had one slide presenting a billboard, a green base with white outline, and we called our team Vibe Match. And when it was my turn, I really talked about the design of the billboard and the design of the shadow characters we added, and I really just talked about um, when you're driving, you're really looking at the screens, you're looking at the hardware a lot more, and you're always really grinding. So instead of seeing a polished image on top, like see people who are still on the way grinding, aka those shadows. And that's why it really resonated with me when my fellow partner really pointed that out. And then, but that's not all though. But like after that, I headed to New York with Ad Club for the second year in a row. Like last year, I really relied on my friends, and I was in the exec team that time, so we already planned things really early. We already knew, okay, we were going to be a tribe, we were going to be a group doing things together. But this year was a little different because I parted ways with the exec team back in May, the same month I got out of imposter syndrome and started this thing. So I really had to do everything on my own, but we still respected each other, still had fun. So like we spent time together like in the agency tours in the mornings, really walking together, chatting about stuff and really spending like, the first night when we landed together at a restaurant. But outside of that, in the evenings most of the time I spent time alone. Like but specifically on hip hop. I'm not gonna talk everything about New York, but I barely took photos. But I took the Staten Island ferry, navigated the subway alone, saw the Statue of Liberty from a distance, stood on the Brooklyn Bridge, and stood on the Manhattan Bridge, which I thought was the Brooklyn Bridge a year ago. And it was crazy contrast. In the Brooklyn Bridge, you see a lot of tourists, and you're just right in the middle between the cars. And then you hear the subway from a distance in the Manhattan Blue Bridge. But for the Manhattan Bridge, I went right after New York and Poets Cafe, and I do want to talk about New York and Poets. New York and Poets is an iconic, decades old, legendary open mic venue, open mic program that's very consistent. They're really consistent on live stream, on reels, on clips, and for the artists themselves. They don't just tell them to sing; they give them each of them descriptions, each of them feedback, and what was truly iconic is how many of those artists did not use a backing track. Like I know many of them were poets, reading poems and making their own poems, but like even the ones who chose to rap and sing, they most of them did not use a backing track, which is crazy to me. Only one person used a backing track, which is insanity to me because over here I'm really used to backing tracks when you sing or rap. I mean, of course, we have poets over here too, and I'm not like a crazy open mic regular attendee, but like still, it was crazy contrast. And I ended up buying a New York and Poets Cafe shirt while I missed the Brooklyn stores. And the only other merch I bought is Carhartt beanie and one for my brother too. So yeah, I didn't buy much. And in terms of pictures, I only took a few pictures of like seagulls and pigeons in Water Street or Walter Street, like by Droga 5 and by that harbor. So but that was mainly because it was just a crazy contrast to see how fearless those pigeons and seagulls were. They're a little bit more gritty, not as shy as the Silicon Valley ones are. But then that night, after eating at Pasta Brullo, I hope I pronounced it right, I I got to really hear how those locals communicated. They complained about rent and really economy just like we do over here, but I got to see how social they were compared to the people in Times Square, where everyone's a tourist. Almost everyone is. Like they just look like they want to walk fast, but in Brooklyn, everyone's walking a little bit slower. That's what truly made me more calm in my mind. And that Thursday night, I walked on Manhattan Bridge, just the subway just screaming loud next to me. I even voice recorded it, and I saw the right side of a lot of the hallways and the aisles of just the night lights, and just spent like the whole time in New York just like that, and I did not regret spending that much time in Brooklyn to be honest. But most important thing was really learning from New York and Poets Cafe and that Manhattan Bridge. But anyways, when I came back home um, on Friday night, the 24th, I went to Hamburg Theater and saw a play called Kingdom of Cards. It's a South Asian inspired play, and it was a really legendary one. They had It was really Bengali based. They had Bengali ritual related performers on the right, and then they had the two main characters in the middle. It was just a great script overall. But what really resonated with me is how people talked about it. I really heard how people really talked about the play and how the composer and director really orchestrated it. And then after that, I just walked straight to San Pedro Square. And in San Pedro Square, I tried that ID cafe. I tried the dosa over there. And interestingly, when eating that dosa on that same night where I saw the play of Kingdom of Cards, I just got noticed by a lot of people. Random strangers just approached me and said, "Yo, is the dosa good?" I'm like, "Yo, it's legitimately good when they're cooking it right in front of you. They actually cooked it right in front of me, just like the pasta place in Brooklyn." But then, yeah, they the dosa was cool and all, but so I went back home, and then Saturday evening I went to San Francisco, took the Caltrain to San Francisco, and saw to see Raf Sapera, which I booked months in advance back in February. And man, like Raf Sapera was so much fun to see, like just hell of an orchestra. Like he was right in the middle, not just the middle, but like he really directed the entire concert. Like his costume change, like he wore the gritty UK clothes in the beginning, and then like switched in the second half to Punjabi, his ritual outfit. And the other thing is like how so many of the fans just repeated after his lyrics and sang along with his lyrics, and a lot of them he sang without a backing track. He sang some of his songs twice, which is crazy. Many of his songs twice. And what I truly love, honestly, is really the art setting too. He had um, Fat Boy hat, and the inflatable Raf Sapera right there, and there was the drums and the dole drums. Yeah, the dole, and then They had the dancers, and it was just amazing. And this was in the Warfield in San Francisco. And then I came back that night on Saturday night, and then Sunday morning I woke up, took the bus to SJSU, and just studied and did work until 6 p.m. for Milo's show again. Milo came back to perform at Sofa Fest, and this was after his recent Greenhouse drop. He dropped a new album called Greenhouse. Um, I analyzed it a couple weeks prior in early April, and you know, um, he was really different to look at compared to back in September. Because back in September, he was just casual, the good volunteer at Stop, Drop, and Roll, and really chill when singing. But this time it was a little different, as his ego was a little bit different, but in a great way. After putting a lot of hours, putting a lot of work into his debut album Greenhouse, and one of the tracks featured Young Hoff too. So I can't wait to hear more about what Young Hoff says about Milo in June. But um, this time I actually ordered the food a little bit more. I went to Love's Brownies. I just got a sundae, and everyone started talking to me. A handful of people said, "Wow, that's a really good ice cream." And I just realized that day, food is a magnet when you get anything at Silverfest. It's a magnet for communication. But it was a lot more fun. I really saw how people vibed, how people danced in front of Milo, and how Milo really controlled the mic along with Young Hoff and the other features. And really a lot of the emotional stories, of course. And what also truly resonated with me in both of the shows, both September and April, was really Sage Cobb. As me with autism, seeing someone else perform with a disability truly resonated with me, and it was just a great resonating poem to me too. So really shout out to Sage Cobb. But then, what I really want to conclude over here is that, like, in April, I really dropped the rush content, really focused on quality a little bit more than quantity. And that's how I've really been more consistent right now behind the camera and really in editing. And I've recently switched from Premiere Pro to Riverside, an AI podcasting app to help like edit so much easier. And I had to really realize that like what's really a higher priority than music, and when it's the best time to actually create music. And I realized it's a lot more fun to really enjoy the moment and really work on my strengths like podcasting and curating instead of trying to rush creations. Versus September myself that time, like I was really trying to get quality, and I was trying to get quantity a lot more, really rushing content, and I never ended up posting anything. But this month, even though I'm not doing everything at once, everything rushed, I'm week by week, I'm posting a little bit more consistently, posting more qualitative reels rather than just for the hype and just for the clout. So that's just really a big lesson for you. If you want to really play the numbers game, or if you actually just want to play the life game. And for me, the life game just works a lot better. But anyways, that's all for the Desi Times. And there may be more things to come. Let's get it.